just before I wrap up, I just want to talk about, as we've been touching on with sort of every subject, almost every subject, with the exception of the Hudson-Odoi Mount one, is Lampard's sort of system and the pressure maybe on Lampard this season of what the expectation is. I feel like I asked you this last time, as I do with a lot of guests, but of course, with all the signings that were made since the last time we spoke, of course, those expectations, I'm sure, for yourself have probably risen. Firstly, just what do you expect from this Chelsea side in terms of league position and other things this season?
I'm expecting top three. Because of the quality we brought in, because of the depth in the squad. Chelsea are probably the second or first best depth in the league for me. I say borderline could be first. I haven't seen the other two teams, Liverpool and Man United, at their not Man United, sorry, Liverpool and Man City at their best and full strength squads. I need to look at their teams and maybe add it up. But Chelsea have ridiculous amount of depth this season. Not even just because of the overload, but because the quality and depth. Gilmour coming back from injury, that's a very important player for me, and a few others. So, yeah, Chelsea have a lot of depth, so I expect them to finish top three. But bare minimum top four. Just really better football, better defence, just all-round game. I just expect everything to be better. And if they, if things become unlucky and they finish fourth, but the overall standard of football is improved, then I'm happy, because I don't expect us to win a title this season or anything like that. It would be nice to challenge, but it all depends on the way the season pans out. Personally, I just want to see a trophy, and obviously the Carabao Cup was a big disappointment, losing against Tottenham. And it's not really just because it's Tottenham. Like I said, it's because it's one half of a realistic shot of a trophy gone. I don't expect us to win the Champions League. I don't expect us to win the Premier League. So I was looking for a domestic cup. And it's very important for these young players to get a cup under their belt, get silver under their belt. I don't want them to get used to not winning and being applauded for not winning because they finish in the top four. Because the top four is not a trophy. I want them to feel some sort of silverware. They've done that throughout the youth games, obviously winning FA Youth Cups, but winning senior trophies for your club is a whole different ballgame, different feeling entirely. So I think, I always bring this back up. Joe Cole spoke about it very well, winning the Carling Cup under Jose Mourinho, how important it was. They spoke about it like it was the Champions League, because that set the winning mentality for the entire squad. And that's what I was hoping with last season's FA Cup. I'm still hoping for it now with the FA Cup this season. So that would be a big thing for me to go ahead and go and win that competition. There's no reason why we can't. We have the depth. And it's a shame, like I said, going out the Carabao Cup, because we have such a big squad now and we're not going to get to utilise it as well as we could. So that's also going to be maybe breeds more unrest, that we can't use the likes of maybe Rudiger or Alonso in those games. So yeah, winning a cup is huge for me. Winning some sort of trophy is huge.
I know you spoke about earlier when we were speaking about defence and midfield, sort of the uncertainty around what Lampard's system is. I mean, a lot of this gets talked about by people I've had on here on the channel, and sort of what Lampard's identity is in terms of the style of football he wants to play. I'm hesitant to ask what his identity is, because I think you have to understand the amount of players he's brought in, and in a sense, it's almost, even though it is his second season, it's, he's brought in so many new players that it's almost part one, part two, if that makes sense. The beginning again, in a sense, because of course the transfer ban last year, him not being able to bring in players he wanted into the squad. Have you been able to feel that there is an identity growing here, or are you concerned in that area? Because some people who are very critical of Lampard, that is their big concern, that there isn't a team identity, whilst for Arteta in a smaller amount of time may have already put that in his team.
If I'm being honest, there isn't an identity yet. Because if there was, I would be able to explain it. And that's how I always say, if I can't explain what we're trying to do, then I would just say there's no identity, because it's not clear enough. It might be clear to some other people and they can explain it, but it's not clear enough to me, especially coming off the back of Conte, Sarri. Their philosophies or ideologies were very easy to explain, because I could see exactly what they were trying to do. And there was no blurred lines. There was no real change either in what they tried to do. They weren't tinkering. They weren't changing their formations, their systems, even their starting lineups. So we've come from two very heavily systematic managers to a manager who's clearly not. So no, I can't say there's any clear ideology. And it's no. And when you say that, people take that as a dig at Lampard. It's not. There's plenty of managers who are quite versatile with their tactics, quite prone to changing things in certain games. I'm more than happy with that. I like a manager who can be flexible when it's needed. Poch is a great example. He is very capable of turning a game on its head. He did so for Tottenham in their Champions League run, I think, against Juventus, I believe, where he changed formation completely at half-time and changed the whole flow of the game. I'm very happy for managers to be able to do that. You need a bit of flexibility. I prefer Sarri to be a little bit more flexible when he was with us and not be so stubborn. There's a middle ground, but Frank Lampard, for me, has been so far too much the other way, closer to Emery, where he changes things too often. So he needs to settle on something. And not just because it's what I want to see, it's because I think the chemistry between the players, the understanding between the players, a settled starting lineup, a settled formation, I think that will help them move and progress the ball around a little bit more smoother if they understand what zones each other are going to take up, what positions each other are going to be, and make it a little bit more seamless. Right now, when we're attacking, it feels like people are just figuring things out as they play the game. They're trying to figure out a plan as they have the ball, instead of seamlessly having an idea in their head how they can progress the ball, how they can create opportunities, and not just any opportunity, high quality opportunities. You can create opportunities. You can swing the ball into the box with Tammy and maybe, just a little bit too high from him and have him do a looping header over the bar, or you can create a tap-in for like Raheem Sterling thrives off at Man City. So you can create opportunities all you like. Chelsea have created a lot of opportunities last season, but are they high quality chances that you're creating? Are they good opportunities? Are they one-on-ones? I don't see too many one-on-ones for Chelsea. I don't see too many one-on-ones for Chelsea strikers last season. I don't see too many tap-in opportunities. I see a lot of chance creation from Reece James. Really good, dangerous crosses coming into the box that Tammy should have been doing better with last season and a few others. And I think that will continue. But there's loads of ways to create a chance. It's not just knock the ball out to Reece James and smash it across the box. There needs to be more than that. So that was my main concern, that there's not enough variety in our play. And I think the likes of Ziyech, who changes the angle on that side completely with the crossfield ball, Pulisic as well, the way that he has, Pulisic's creativity is very underrated. He's got great timing of the pass. He releases the ball just before he's about to be receiving a challenge, and he always picks the right decision as well. As we saw for that Liverpool goal, he drifted round 3 or 4 players and then had the composure to pick his head up and find Tammy for a tap in, and that's what we need more of. So yeah, I just want a bit more variety in our play, and that's down to the players we've been given last season, not having too much variety. Right footers playing right wing, William, Pedro not being the most creative players in terms of vision and chance creation there. And also the manager just needs to improve in that regard. So I think it's a collective. So I'm hoping now there shouldn't really be any excuses. We have one of the most frightening attacks in the league. We should be able to create a variety of chances and be a little bit more easy on the eye.
Yeah, I think the issue is when you look at who's been successful recently in the Premier League, you've got 2 teams above us in Man City and Liverpool who are so set in their systems. You understand what the identity is. I think the argument against sort of that in terms of concern about Lampard is how still inexperienced he is as a coach. And that was always the risk appointing him. And I guess the thing you have to be is, well, let's see in 2 months' time, let's see in 3 months' time, let's see in a year's time if it goes well of where the system is. Just before we go, I just want to ask you one other question. Who do you think is going to be Chelsea's player of the season?
Oh, good question. It's a very good question. It's tempted to go with a new signing. I think it could be Reece James, because if he gets the minutes, I don't see why not. I think he could have had so many assists last season if his chances were taken. Like, he was robbed of assists. And I think if we can get the ball, if he can get the minutes, it really depends on the rotation with Azpilicueta. But if he can get the game time, I think he's going to come on leaps and bounds in this season. I think he's going to be one of the best right backs in the league because he's got everything. He's had the year's experience in the Prem now. We know his quality, his crossing technique and everything that comes with it. Even the long shot, goal of the month. And that's not a surprise to me. If you know Reece James and the way that he shoots and, his shooting technique, whether it be from the curler against Grimsby to the long shot for Wigan, he's got everything in abundance. For me, he could be on free kicks and corners. He's got the technique to do those things as well. So he's a very complete technically very complete player. So I think he could easily be the underdog for player of the season if he gets the minutes and he obviously reaches the potential he should. So I'm going to go with him. I think the new signings, the reason why I won't go with them is because I do think they're going to need time to settle in. It's their first season in the Premier League, and I think there will be patches of good form and bad form for those players as well, because I never really expect any player coming from abroad to come into the league immediately and just have a killer season. If they do, fantastic, but if they don't, I'm not going to be on the chopping block. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, I definitely like that shout. That's an exciting shout. I went for Pulisic just based on the back end of last season, so that's an interesting shout. But thank you so much, Matisse, for joining me once again for a great discussion. But Matisse, when I'll give you the opportunity now to shout out where people can find your work online.
So as per usual, mainly active on Twitter. That's where I post the videos at the moment. That's where I really am active when it comes to speaking about football. Instagram page is slowly growing. I'm starting to learn to post on there a little bit more, so you might see some cool things on there. But definitely Twitter if you want to see me really active, and everything really goes through Twitter. Cheeky Sport I work with very closely. We're looking forward to doing some more stuff with them, and obviously the Fantasy Premier League show as well. Catch me on that. It's mainly, I think, for international viewers. So if you're from anywhere but the UK, you can watch that. A few other things as well. So we've got a few announcements coming up in the next couple of weeks. One that's guaranteed in the form of podcasting, and one that's not 100%. So I won't announce that yet, but hopefully soon. We haven't got a date for that yet. If you want to see all that, just head to the Twitter, type in MAH. And I should come up, hopefully.
All good, man. And all the links for Matisse's work will be in the description box below. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonofChelsea. Have a great day, and I'll see you again.